Welcome to the B2B Legend Show by Oneflow. I'm Josephine, your host, and on this show we dive into the stories behind some of the legends in the B2B world. Each episode we chat with industry leaders to explore their journeys, challenges and insights. Today we're joined by Francisca Alliende from Mentimeter. We will dive into her career journey and experiences, and also discuss problem solving, common pitfalls, and get her take on the future of data analytics. Hello everyone, today we have Francisca Alliende here, a senior data analyst at Mentimeter. Thank you so much for being here and welcome.
Thank you, Josephine, for having me today.
Let's start from the beginning. Kind of walk me through where you started and how you ended up to where you are today.
Okay, so I am originally from Chile. So I study commercial engineering. Over there is a career that has a little bit of everything about business and a little bit of economy. And I landed my first job in the B2B part of a telecom company, a big one in Chile. And over there I was doing some like data analysis about like enterprise prices and all that kind of stuff. But after that I have many other different jobs. I went totally in a different random stuff, like doing voluntary work for 1 year or a yoga teacher for another.
Okay.
And after doing a couple of random jobs, I decided I wanted to come back to that kind of first job in the beginning. And I had the opportunity to also go study abroad. So I went to Rome and I studied a master's in data science. This was 2018, I think. It was relatively new, but in practicalities, it was not that different from what I was doing in my first job, but a little bit more advanced in a way. So I went there with my husband, and after living in Rome for 2 years, the idea was coming back to Chile, but he had an opportunity to work here in Sweden for 1 year, and we said, okay, why not? Let's see how it goes, and we moved here. And I have to be honest, my first job was a little bit difficult to find. I spent 8 months looking for a job every day. I had help for an organization that is called Vila, that it's women in tech that I want to transition in career. And I had a mentor there that was like life-changing for me. And she helped me to land in my first job here in Sweden, that it was in Alva Labs, B2B SaaS, in the analytics part of it. So I would say that's my new job, like in the space after this whole journey. And after that, things went very like fast and smooth, I would say. Then I spent there a couple of years, and I wanted to work with a bigger company because Alva Labs was very early stage of a startup. I was the first analyst there, and I moved to Funnel. Also B2B SaaS, that it's a bit bigger and had a little bit more mature data situation. And then I got to know Mentimeter, and I fell in love with the product. I also like it in general, and I had an eye on the job applications, and 3 months ago I moved to Mentimeter in a larger data team than in Fun.
Okay. How was it like moving to Sweden and kind of changing not just job but also country? How was it adapting to Sweden?
I would say that was I don't know if tough is the right word, but like unexpected. The cultural work difference are very, very like high, that they are very different, but you don't know it at the beginning. So for example, and it's difficult to understand, like you assume a lot of stuff, your manager or your teammates, they also assume a lot of stuff. And then I realized that, for example, the culture about talking about yourself, of your work, it's super different. And in Chile, I was more used to have to report everything to my manager. My manager here was kind of annoyed. He thought I was like showing off about all the things that I was saying. It's like, no, I kind of seeking for your approval, and it took us several months to realize that, like for us to like open up and realize that was not working. But it helped me a lot to talk about other foreigners working here, but everyone has their own experience because you have your own experience and your own culture. So and it's difficult to find like another Chilean working in Sweden in tech. So you kind of need to navigate it on your own, though.
Yeah, here at Oneflow we are a lot of kind of different people all around the world, and it's you really have to listen to each other to really kind of get to know just the culture, because that kind of shapes people so much, even like in the personal and the professional space, basically. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
If you would like to share kind of a struggle maybe that you had in your early career, and how did you overcome that?
Very early on my career, I always find out like that usually it's difficult to tackle a problem or a project in general because you have like too many moving parts. You're usually not the expert, you are kind of a consultant in a way, and to understand what do you need to do, it's kind of a tricky part sometimes. So in one of my jobs, I remember that I started to do a sort of PowerPoint presentation for myself to understand how the different parts like move. In that specific job, I needed to do lead accounting software for internal uses. So it's not very related to data, but all projects are more or less the same. So, and I created very basic for me, I thought, ways of a structure, like how I thought the company was a structure and where is the software it's going to be, what is going to be used, and all that stuff. And then I show it to my manager to check my thinking, and she loved it. And then she said, okay, yeah, this is right, this is very wrong, this you totally got it wrong in that part. And then we polish it together and then show it to the rest of the company for other purposes as well. And after that, I started to use that for all my projects. So to show my understanding of what I think we are supposed to be doing, even though sometimes you think you are 100% sure, then when you show it to them and really ask them, this is how your area works, you usually find out that you have some mistakes there.
So really kind of visualizing the problem more, or kind of put it into words, maybe put it into images. Is that kind of what you did?
Exactly. I like schemas or that kind of representation, but I think it can be whatever. But to check, to share your understanding of the project and challenge people to say, okay, this is right, this is wrong. So you need to start from there. Yeah. Mm.
Oh, great advice. I feel like I will take that on actually. But there's always like sometimes when you kind of hit, or it's a new project or wherever, it's kind of hard to kind of collect your mind, since it's often a lot of moving parts, as you said also. So it's kind of good to get everything not on paper, but in a presentation, so you have everything in front of you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, good advice. So just looking back at the beginning of your career, as we did now, what were some of the kind of key steps that you took to get into the position that you are today?
Well, I totally went out of the steps that you are supposed to have. One thing is that you can always kind of come back or like start over in a way, especially if you're early in your career. So for me, there weren't like a clear next steps over there, but I think one skill that I developed that I think really helped me through my career is to find a job. It's a skill. You have to know how to do it, how to write a letter, how to find a suitable company, how to do an interview. And that allows you to try many things, to don't like settle for a job that you don't like that much and be able to explore. And I explored for almost 8 years, and then I realized what I wanted, and then it's relatively easy to take the steps that you need for becoming a data scientist. Like you have a lot of information out there, online courses, tips, whatever. But I would say that the hardest part is to realize that you want that, go for it. And for that, in my experience, I tried different things, and that helped me.
Is there any other kind of skills that you feel like you have developed during your career that you didn't have earlier?
Yeah, definitely. Like when you're out from university, at least in my case, I didn't knew how to approach any practical stuff at all. And it's just a way of trial and errors. And for example, now tomorrow, actually, I'm doing a workshop for my colleagues to how to do project management. And I don't follow any framework or any templates because they don't really work in my experience. You need to develop your own system, and that's only experience that you need. And of course, like to pay attention, trying to develop a system for you that it's going to help you to actually do stuff and not be like overwhelmed with all the stuff that are going on in your role usually.
And I was also curious, are there any kind of common pitfalls that you see within data analytics team, and how do you think that they could be avoided?
Mm. Yeah, well, I have always worked in startups and scale-ups, so maybe the mess is something that you need to embrace in a way. But I would say that usually we in analytics don't plan enough, like or with enough detail on the technical side, for example, of what we are gonna do, which approaches you're gonna take, because it can get really, really deep, and you need to do some research to gather some insights from other areas. So in my case, I think we don't usually plan enough, and also the adoption of the products that you create. I have always heard people complain about that, blaming like others, and of course, it's a shared responsibility. In my case, I usually work with sales and marketing teams. So it's usually they ask for something, you do it, and then not always they use it, or they are not as enthusiastic as they saw at the beginning. But I prefer to think that as part of my job, than to say, okay, the sales and marketing, they are not using it, my job is not relevant enough. And I think that's something that I have from my previous experience, but I don't think it's usually counted in the analytics projects. It's like, okay, I deliver, I handle it to you, and then I kind of done. And I'm not really sure that that's when you are done, because you need a lot of technical knowledge to actually implement it, have feedback from it, and all that stuff.
I would also kind of move over to the future. No, but so if you can just think about, is there any kind of current trends within your field that you think will also kind of shape the future of the field? Is it something that you have seen lately that you feel like, I wonder where this will end up?
Well, I think AI and self-service are something that is happening. Um, in my experience, like I started working in 2012, where self-service data was not even close, and data availability was not as big as you have it now. And I feel that people, like I mean users of the data, like in my case, sales managers, are using less data now than in 2012 because they feel more overwhelmed. They don't really know how to use it. So they need more someone like us or like someone in analytics to actually guide them where to go. But and I don't know what's going to happen with the self-serve. Like in an ideal world, they could be able to do it themselves with the knowledge, but and probably every managerial work in the future will ask you to know a little bit about data. But for now, I think we're very far from that situation.
Yeah, let's see what the future holds, basically.
Yeah.
And where do you see yourself in about 5 years?
I'm not sure either. I think also the data journey, it's a like the journey goes both ways. Like you learn about more about data, but you also learn about a field, and you can explore in so many ways that I like it, but it also can be like overwhelmed sometimes because you now can go like into more specifics into the knowledge field that you know, like sales or product or stuff like that, or into data or into leading data teams. So I haven't made my mind yet, but I think I would like to have maybe another area of expertise and explore more maybe a product or who knows. Uh, it depends also in the possibilities that are showing into the way, but yeah. I feel that I have a lot of options, and I think that's good for someone kind of far in their career journey. That's
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and to kind of wrap this session up, I have some quick questions for you. So first up is, who do you learn from?
who do I learn from?
Yeah.
Well, people in my team, I would say the first ones. I also go to articles in Medium a lot, and I like to read books if I can, because yeah, internet it's a vast world right now, so it also can get a bit overwhelmed.
Yeah. That actually leads me on to my next question. Which books or podcasts would you recommend to our listeners?
So one book that I like that I read recently is Show Me the Numbers. I don't remember the author, but it's more about like how to curate data and really make it more digestible for other teams. And yeah, from podcasts, I'm not hearing any right now, but I always get recommendations from my manager or for other people. And for sales and marketing, I usually use HubSpot as a reference as well. I think they are a good blueprint for everything that is going on in B2B SaaS.
And last question, who do you think should be in the next interview?
Well, I do have my former mentor or Claudia Chitu. She works in analytics, in product analytics here in Stockholm, and she she teach me a lot. So, and she also had a very interesting path career. She's not from Sweden either, so and she's been working here for a long time now.
Could be an interesting episode, I think. Sounds good.
Yeah,
Thank you so much, Francisca, for being here and sharing your journey. It has been really great listening to.
thank you for inviting me. I had so much fun.
Good to hear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to the show to not miss future episodes. See you in the next one.